We'll open up for questions for Andrew. We'll start here on the left. Kirsten, first row.
Andrew, I know we've talked a lot about just Tyler and Clayton going to the bullpen, and of course Tyler hopefully will have that Game 4 start, but when you look at just them in this role right now, how beneficial has it been considering the seasons that they've had and kind of the boost they could add to that group?
Yeah, it's big. We talked about it before the last round. I think one real strength of this roster is our starting pitching, because when you're in a position where Emmett Sheehan can pitch out of the pen, Clayton Kershaw, last round Glass, it speaks to that depth. Those guys are really talented, and I can see factoring in and helping us win a series.
Next question. We go here to Jake in second row on the left.
At what point during Roki's rehabilitation process during the year did it become apparent to you that using him as a legitimate weapon out of the pen in October was a possibility?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to early in the season. Delivery was kind of out of whack a little bit, and we've seen it a lot with guys that have had hamstring injuries or oblique injuries or different things. That in that buildup, there's subconscious protection of that, and sometimes deliveries can get somewhat out of whack, and then that becomes kind of muscle memory, and it's hard to unwind. And you couple that with a player coming over from Japan, and it takes time to build a relationship. It takes time to create that trust, and then you compound that with some shoulder soreness, and I think all of it kind of led to this process where we ended up in a really good spot, but it takes some time. The biggest and most important thing was to get him back feeling right. And then once that happened, then it was, okay, let's attack the delivery and try to get that back in place. And it took a little while, but I think once we saw that click is where it was like, okay, this is a very viable option to be a really talented pitcher who can help us get really important outs.
Okay, we're going to go to Jack, third row on the left.
With just Shohei's, the two-way thing, both what it does for the roster and just what he provides on the field, does that become even more pronounced in a postseason setting with the roster flexibility? It gives you the ability to manage his workload a little bit easier with the days off that are baked into a postseason schedule. Does it become especially effective this time of the year?
Yeah, I think it's certainly helpful. I think, for Show, we can't even begin to fathom what it's like to do both things, especially with the added intensity of the postseason. So I think getting a day off between games 1 and 2 after game 2, I think it's all helpful. There's no question that it's taxing. It's taxing on everybody. And then you layer on, his ability to do both, and it's challenging. And I'm glad last year he got to experience the adrenaline of October with just hitting. And now this year we get to layer both on. I think in some weird way it's actually beneficial. But yeah, I think the days off certainly are helpful.
Okay, we're going to go in the third row right there. Howard.
Hi, Andrew. Will Smith, obviously, ahead of getting hurt, the year he had was a cut above even his last 2 All-Star campaigns. And sort of 2 parts on this. One is, I'm wondering what you saw that allowed him, the batting average went up, the edge velocity went up, but also just in terms of playing time, DHing is not an option, obviously. And so, you've got Dalton, you have Will signed long-term. How do you see all that shaking out, and how do you figure out what the right workload is for him going forward?
Yeah, I think the last 2 years going into this year, he's had great years, but, a little bit of a fall off late in the year, and so we've been conscious of kind of workload and how to manage that. Having Rush definitely helped with that some, and so I think just managing that all a little bit better, I think, allowed him to kind of sustain that high level of play longer. Unfortunately, he had the fluke injury with the foul ball off his hand. But he's in a good spot. We've had the chance to kind of ramp him up, get him some live at bats, and do things. Now there's no replicating what you go through in a 9-inning game, and so we'll have to figure out how to do that and get him in a position where he can resume what he does, because he's such an important part of our team.
Which is long-term.
Long-term, he'll continue to be a very important part of our team. I don't know. I'm so focused on right now.
Yeah, okay, Fabian, second row.
Yeah, Andrew, how much of an appreciation have you gained over the last couple of years of Shohei's his relationship with pitching specifically in that part of his game?
Yeah, I mean, I've said this a lot. I think he's underrated. I just don't think the human brain can comprehend what he does and how difficult it is and how elite he is at both. And the passion he has for hitting and the passion he has for pitching. It doesn't seem like there's enough passion to go around, but there is with him. And he really cares about being great at everything he does. And so watching his rehab process and that build up and just how focused he was, how intent he was every day on the work he was doing to get himself back in a position to be able to go take the ball and pitch really well. It wasn't just about pitching for him. It was about pitching really well. Nothing surprises me anymore, but yet everything still surprises me. He's just one of a kind.
You said a couple weeks ago that you think he's one of the best pitchers in the National League. When did you start to see that he was back to that point after surgery?
I think you could see glimpses of it with certain games with a couple pitches being there and a couple not, and then the next game, he had other things working, and you see that with guys, and it's just about how to sync it all up. And so it's not surprising to me that he did. And once he had that full arsenal working, he's a really tough at bat. And just the compete is so great that you take that combination and it equals really good things.
Okay, Bill in the middle on the left.
Yeah, Andrew, numbers say your lineup isn't particularly vulnerable to left-handed pitching, despite Ohtani, Freeman, Muncy. What are the challenges facing 3 consecutive left-handed starters in this series?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just the left-handedness. They're really good. So even beyond handedness, those guys are really good. One of their strengths is their starting rotation. One of our strengths is our starting rotation. Watching those two worlds collide, I think, will be great. There's some nostalgia around these kind of starting pitching matchups. But, yeah, those guys are really good, and I think, we've gotten a chance to see them a few times, which is helpful. And I think our guys do a really good job of kind of understanding our game plan and sticking to it. Our offense has really come to life. It's not an easy lineup to navigate, but obviously those guys are going to be a real challenge.
Okay, we're going to go all the way in the back to Bill on the left. Nope, straight back there. Yeah.
Andrew, there are some guys who've been so distinguished in their roles that I wonder if teams have to worry about asking them to do something else. And the guy I'm asking about specifically is Kershaw, who's been so distinguished. Any trepidation at all about asking him to work in relief?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there obviously always is with someone of that stature, but to Kershaw's credit, he cuts off that timidness in a way by saying, hey, I'm here to win, like whatever it takes. And he's loved watching these guys compete. Obviously, he's done really well this year as well. Usually when a guy's on his way out, it's like, okay, it's time. You can kind of see it, and performance really backs up. That's not the case with Kersh. He was a big part of the success we had this year. But to his credit, he cut it off really early and just said, hey, I just want to be a part of this and help this team win whatever way I can. And so he helped make that conversation way easier.
Far left against the wall, Matt.
Andrew, I'm wondering, as you've become one of the more tenured head of baseball operations in the sport, how has your relationship with Dave Dombrowski evolved over the years?
Dave and I have had a really good relationship. We have never really been in the same division, kind of going at it, and have only squared off once, I think, in the playoffs in 18. I think that, but had a really good relationship. He was, already fairly seasoned when I came in, and it's been a good relationship and it's continued. I think we communicate really well together, and obviously there are certain guys that it's easier to trust when they say something, and Dave is certainly at the top of that list.
Okay. Anything else for Andrew? Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. That concludes.